They chased
Yerry Mina.
Yeah, I mean, they applied pressure. Like,
Have you seen the video of when they're talking to Frank?
No, and they're like, yeah, we back you or something.
Yeah,
like that. Yeah,
he looked
before the West Ham.
He looked so nervous and uncomfortable.
Yeah, he's finished. He's been sacked today anyway.
Yeah, he's been sacked,
but that's playing the pressure. Though, of course, like from people looking in, say, well, this is their job. I get it.
Yeah.
But that constant pressure, man, like
people forget that they're human beings.
Exactly.
They're literally human. Like, you know, you can't play well all the time.
Yeah.
You know, let's just say you're a parent of a young child who's sick or whatever, and you go and you're not going to play your best. You're worried about your family.
But I feel like some people take it too far, man.
Yeah,
there's no reason why anyone should be receiving death threats over bad form.
No.
Yeah.
It's never that deep.
It's like going to work.
Yeah.
Boss is like, look, you're not playing well. You're not fix up.
Yeah.
Gonna punch you in your face. You're like, what?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? The abuse, the level of
it's
abuse.
It's the only job that you just get abused and you're supposed to just be all right with it because you get 200 grand a week.
No,
that doesn't change anything.
Yeah, exactly.
You're still a human being. You're still gonna take that to heart in many ways.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
yeah.
And what I realized as well, maybe I don't know what it was like back in maybe like 10 years ago, but what I see now a lot of the time, it's like if you're a player and you're on form, you can do what you want. As an outside of football, whether they see you like, I don't know, but you know, sometimes the paparazzi might say, oh, we saw this player at this club, or at this nightclub. You can do it. You see, if you're off form,
it's almost like you can't go.
You can't even dare to be done. Like,
it's like if you lose a match and then they'll see a player like out for dinner with his family. They're like, why is he out? And I'm like, what? He can't go out for dinner. But the thing is, the fans get it confused because football, their life entirely revolves around football.
Yeah.
But the football player has a family. He has friends to go out, and he's got things. He's not like just because he loses, he's not just going to stay at home. Like, imagine if your team goes on a losing streak of 4 or 5 matches, he's just going to stay at home for the whole time.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
They have a field day with Pogba, man. Pogba in there just posts a video of dancing with the brothers. Like, you see, like, this is why this players of today, they're not focused.
All the haircuts, everyone's getting onto him. It's like they associated it with bad form or something.
Yeah. And social media made it a lot worse as well.
Yeah. But he's a brand as well.
Yeah.
So, yes, he was a footballer, but I guess at the same time, he was a major influence for Adidas.
Exactly.
Yeah, you can't like just proper be onto, and that's a lot of the thing as well. Like, I know obviously mental health is like it's prevalent in most sports now, but a lot of the time people don't understand these footballers. Yeah, look, I think as a fan, you can say, oh, my players, you're playing rubbish, but there's a line in it when you start saying, oh my gosh, I wish this is not that deep, man.
Yeah, it's not that deep.
Like, do you know what it is though? I think it's in many cases it's often a reflection of where that person's at. Like if you're in a good place, you won't ever come out and say that about someone. Like you wish they would die and this and that. That's just a projection of where they are in their life. They're not in a good place.
Yeah.
You start spewing that vitriol to make yourself feel better, but it doesn't actually help you to feel better in any way.
Yeah.
You know? I think for me personally, I feel like when you start saying stuff like, oh, I wish you would die over something so trivial. Let's be honest, it's trivial, yeah.
Football doesn't matter.
It doesn't
mean anything, really. Let's be honest.
Yeah, it's a bit of entertainment.
It's just entertainment. That's it.
Yeah,
it's not life or death. It's
like it's never. Listen, as an Arsenal fan. This, like I said, we've been through the band. Do you know what times you're just rattled, your head's just hot because your team's losing. Listen. So it's like, but again, it's never that. It's never that deep, and the reason why, maybe it's just me, but I don't know, man. I can't feel comfortable just wishing death on someone, or even like playing about with that, or you know, like I don't know if you guys are on TikTok. I know I
try not to use it too much, but
but there was this trend where people were just going on and saying basically playing a prank on someone and saying someone like a famous celebrity.
I saw that,
and I think and what's her name? Angela Bassett. Her son tried to play a prank on her, innit?
Yeah.
Say, how Michael B. Jordan died, and I think about a couple hours later he made an apology video.
Oh really?
Because like, come on, man.
Yeah,
like,
it's stupid. It's stupid.
Do you know what it is? I think people they don't actually realize the deeper levels to that kind of stuff. Like on the surface, and you see the reaction, and it can be quite funny. But if you actually think about it, you're like speaking death onto people, and so death isn't something to trivialize. Do you know what I mean? It's not something to trivialize at all. And I think people will probably realize eventually, actually, that's not something to joke about.
No,
it's
not
at all. Like honestly, at all.
Exactly. That's the thing with social media. I think people it's all about the likes and the engagement.
That's it. That's it.
you still can make money. You still can get interaction.
Yeah,
just be.
You can do it in the right way.
Yourself.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
You know, don't follow the trend.
Yeah,
exactly like it's not. Yeah, those things like it's nice. It's you can't because it's just too. It's too airy to even just say it. Or I wish because obviously not everyone might. I don't know, like be spiritual or religious, but yeah, you can't just. Me personally, I can't just like.
And this is childish. It's like what a little child would say after you tell them off. You know,
but
they'll run off screaming and say, "Oh, I wish this." You know what I mean? It's like, okay, if you're an adult, come on, common sense.
Yeah, if you, I mean, even as a child, sometimes I'll be still be thinking like, wow, how are you so advanced to be wishing stuff like that?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Do you know what's interesting though? I would wonder, like, the people doing this, if they've actually experienced death or they've lost someone close to them. Because I can't imagine if you have, you would be wanting to say that kind of stuff like it's a joke. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't be able to kind of conceptualize it in that way.
No, like you can't.
You've experienced a loss, you couldn't then joke about it on behalf of someone. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I see how that can be possible.
Yeah, and even if you have, it's probably like far removed to the point where it's like, okay,
doesn't really affect you.
It doesn't affect you.
Yeah. Maybe your great grandmother or something.
Yeah.
But even then, you know, people's great grandmas die, and it's still, you know,
yeah,
it's a sad situation. But I can't imagine people who were doing that would have experienced it in that kind of way.
Yeah,
it's bizarre.
It's not.
It's bizarre.
You can't be doing that, man. And I think
stay off TikTok.
Honestly, like
that app's turning people crazy, bro. That's all I can say.
Like a bunch of crap. I haven't been on TikTok once. I haven't signed up. No profile. Nothing.
Yeah, and one thing I would say, like, obviously, I my excuse, I use it for the pod for marketing purposes.
Yeah, that's fine. It's business.
Do you know what I mean? But some of the stuff you see, people are literally like, like, especially with that trend, I'm like, listen, I don't understand what these people are doing. And do you know what? It's not maybe not all of them is like, it's met with malice here, but still in it. Like, it's not. Yeah, you want to be area about those things because, like, you know, as I feel like, I think safe to say, I've all experienced. Someone can be here today and gone tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like that is actually real. You know what I mean? It's actually real. And even just, you know, of our last guest, Rebecca, who passed away.
Yeah.
Like it was so crazy because literally she passed away a couple of days after we had recorded, and like, I do feel it for her family, and I do, like, when I heard it, I was just like, hold on, I was reading like the article, and I was like, that name sounds mad familiar because I spoke to Rebecca of the same surname, who's also the same age, who also lives there, and I thought maybe this is just a mad coincidence. Yeah. But then I think when I read the article, I don't know if it was enough. No. And that was Sky News, so I was like, okay, right, this is real, because obviously some news publications, they don't maybe
they don't
all the facts, all the sources. And I saw that, I was like, oh, it is the same person. And like I was just like, and I remember, so I think I found out a couple of days prior to I found out I'd put our video up on YouTube, our episode that we had did, and then I was like, it was just so crazy when I found out it was her. And I think after that, I hadn't promoted it because I just thought, I don't know, I don't think it would be right to still promote it and stuff. But literally, a lot of people were just going to that video. And I think, I don't know how TikTok works, the algorithm, but I think when there's mention of something happening, or maybe someone mentioned her name, I think her name was mentioned a lot. So like, people were just going to that video, like, and obviously, like, again, I'm not going to be promoting that. I don't want to capitalize off of that. But I can't control what happens very often, because I didn't promote it afterwards she had passed. So any traffic towards, and maybe it's a remembrance of her, innit? Do you know what I mean? So it's like, but it was just sad, man, and I just wanted to say R.I.P. to her.
Yeah, definitely. I think, you know, at a time like that as well, around the holiday period, it's always tough when you lose someone like that, because holiday period is all about family. It's all about, you know, being around people that you love and things like that. And it's mad because I messaged you because I saw like a clip a few days back of her talking about her son who had autism. She
that's why I brought on.
Articulated her, you know, what she was doing really well, and kind of, you just had a lot of respect for her, even if I didn't know her. And then you see what happened, and it was kind of just like, and the circumstances as well.
That's it, isn't it? I think that's when I saw it. I thought, oh gosh, the kids. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's why I thought, because they're so young,
kids,
like
and she was still young as well. In herself, so
like, and I don't know. I always have this thing where, like, obviously I can't. Who am I to say who should pass away in it, but it's always so rattling when like people die young, like, and you know, I think that's a perfect way just to introduce you, Jeffrey, because I feel like I left it till kind of late still, but we have Jeffrey on the podcast today. You know, and the reason why I wanted to bring you on, because you've experienced like you've experienced loss, but you've experienced like losing someone. I mean, I don't know if it's fair to say losing someone young.
Yeah.
You know, so like just talking about your experience and going through that journey, because again, like we've like lost our dads, but I can't imagine what's like losing a partner, because, and the reason why I say that, maybe it's my ignorance, but I always feel like that's the least person you expect to pass, because you feel like you lot are growing together. So you don't think, oh, death is gonna be in your peripheral at so early on. And again, I don't mean that in a bad way to say that, because who am I to say who deserves to live long? And but that's just how maybe I've been conditioned to think. Oh, you know, like you meet a partner, you don't think, oh, so you know, what kind of casket do you want? You don't, you know, you're not gonna ask those,
consider those things.
You know what I mean? So
that's it, because typically you kind of associate death with age, innit? The older you are, you think, okay, it's like the pecking order, innit? Unless like there's a drastic event, you know, you get caught up in a natural disaster. Typically you think maybe young people will be okay. So, but if anyone is going to pass, you typically go to the older generation. And then it comes down. So
like, as I said that loosely, like, I'm not, it's not to say that, you know, like I'm sad that people older that are dying, like, of course, but you just think, like, when you're young, it touches you, man. And so so I thank you for coming on, man. I know it's a difficult one, like grief isn't, but you know, like I said, you know, I can only understand to a certain degree. Do you know what I mean? So you know, I just thought it'd be good to have you on and, like, you know, to share, like, just that experience of grief, and you know, you how you've been processing it for the past couple, I would say
it's been about November 2021, so about 14, 15 months.
Okay. So the past 15 months, what's that been like for you, man?
So, I mean, at the moment, like, I'd say, you know, I'm grateful that I'm in a great place in my life, but obviously, like, that journey was like, again, you never expect to ever go through something like that, regardless of, you know, the circumstances. Like, just getting married literally in May of that year, and then 5.5 months later, that happens, and it's like, you just, it's a really weird feeling. Like, at that time, it's like a kind of complete disbelief. I wake up the next day and I'm thinking, this has not happened. Do you know what I mean? You're trying to almost wake up out of like a bad dream kind of thing. So there was definitely a lot to have to deal with, and I felt like at certain moments, like, you know, my life was over in many ways. Do you know what I mean? Especially because Jas was someone who, like, just gave so much to my life. Do you know what I mean? Like, when I met her, it's funny because when I met her, I wasn't even interested in being in a relationship in any kind of way whatsoever, but just being around her energy, being around everything that she was about, I just started to change my perspective on so many things. Like, I was at a stage in my life where I was quite bitter. I was trying to play, you know, go abroad to play pro football. I've been to a few different countries and it wasn't quite working out. Came back to the UK and was trying to figure out what was going on, wasn't in the best kind of mind frame. And then I met her and it was just like, as I said, I didn't ever think that I would end up getting married. I always thought I would never get married. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
So, and then, you know, you just grow with this person and you just start to become like the best version of yourself. She's supporting you, I'm supporting her, like, and so, you know, it was honestly an incredible period of my life. And I can look back on it now very fondly. You know, I'm in a really good place. Like, I've obviously met someone new now, so I'm really enjoying that process. But whilst, you know, I think one thing that people don't understand is that, you know, in a situation like that, you can, you know, be present and enjoy what's going on in the present moment and meet someone new and, you know, love someone new. But you can also look back on what happened, and it's not a case of trying to replace anyone. You're trying to just kind of move forward in your life, and you can, you know, have so much fondness and happiness at what you once had. Do you know what I mean? So obviously when it happened, it was like a big shock to the system, to say the very least. And it was just a case of just trying to rebuild from there, really. It was very, I was very lucky to have, like, you know, a good community of family and friends around me who were just like gave me so much support like I couldn't imagine. Like even people on social media, like just it was crazy because at the time I didn't want to. I'd stopped posting obviously when it happened, and I was just didn't do anything with it. And then one of my friends in like the kind of health and well-being community on Instagram mentioned, "Oh, you haven't been, posting for a while. Is everything all right?" And basically I just told them, and then it was like they were just completely shocked. Do you know what I mean? Wow. But it was amazing because she then was like, giving me so much support. She told me about one of the books that I'll mention that I read, which completely like validated my experience. She sent like food to my house, and then when I posted on Instagram about it, like so many people were just sending stuff to me and just giving me like just so much like support. Do you know what I mean? Nice. And that was really like I needed that. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. That was really, really good to have. And one of the books that I'd mentioned, I've got one here, which is Man's Search for Meaning, which that's probably the best book I've ever read. And then there was another book that I read. Yeah. There was another book that I read called Option B.
Okay. Yeah.
So Option B was basically Sheryl Sandberg, the COO of Facebook.
Okay.
So she wrote about her.
Basically, it might be Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor E. Frankl.
Yeah.
So this can be found.
You can get it anywhere. Amazon. Yeah. So I read that, but first this friend of mine, she recommended that I read a book called Option B, which is about Sheryl Sandberg. She's a COO of Facebook, and it basically detailed her experience of losing her husband whilst they were on holiday, and she had, I think it was 2 or 3 kids, and just like reading her raw, kind of like completely unfiltered experience of the process of grief helped to validate what I was experiencing, because you're going through all these like emotions and stuff, and you're almost thinking you're the only person that's going through this. Like you kind of forget that this is a huge world out there and this happens a lot of the time. So I was just like, obviously it was very emotional whilst reading it. Like I was crying a lot of the time. This was like maybe 2 weeks after I started reading it. 2 weeks after it happened, then I started reading the book. But it just completely validated my experience and what I was going through. And I was like, wow, this woman has provided such a detailed kind of raw, vulnerable kind of account of what she'd gone through, and it helped me so much to understand like the waves that I was going to go through. She was talking about stuff about posting and how people would respond and react, and the kind of help that she would have wanted from people. It was really really useful. Like I mean, I still even kind of just read it from time to time, even though I said I'm in a really, really good place, which I'm so grateful for. But yeah, that's a book that I would recommend to anyone kind of going through any kind of loss, because you almost think that once that happens, your life, that's it. Your life is over. But, you read about her, and I think there's a foundation called Option B, which helps people go through loss and things like that, which is really, really good. So, and I think one of the things that, it's funny because someone actually emailed me the other day, and they were basically saying, because I went on my friend's podcast, the Straight Talking Doctor podcast, a friend of mine called Mark. He's a NHS doctor, and he's got a podcast similarly to yours about like mental health and things like that. And I went on it in November last year. So it was just around about a year after it happened. And I was a bit apprehensive about going on it to speak about my experience, but he did an amazing job in terms of like creating a real safe space for me to speak about it. And I got an email about 3 weeks ago from this lady who was basically saying that she'd listened to the podcast and she was so grateful for what I'd said because it gave her hope.
Nice.
And she said that she'd gone through a ton of loss when she was in her 20s and her 30s, and she was in her 30s then, and she was going through therapy. But she said that what she needed to hear and like experience was under like kind of seeing someone else's perspective of having gone through something like what I'd gone through. And he said it gave her hope for the future. And I was like, wow, like the same way that Sheryl Sandberg's book gave me hope for the future, my account of my experience and, my kind of process of navigating grief gave someone else hope. And then maybe she might give someone else hope. And then it kind of creates that kind of snowball effect of providing that kind of that solace for people who are going through something like that. So for me, that was really humbling to hear. So yeah, those 2 books were like really, really good and useful for me. And something that I found also, which I had to do, was get back into like my healthy living routine. So, because for me, it was like, I needed to do something that made me feel good. Like training, eating right, going for walks, going for runs, doing all of that stuff that makes me feel good on a day-to-day basis. Obviously, after it happened, like for about a week, my head was all over the place. I couldn't even think of doing anything. You know, I'd moved back to my mum's and all that kind of stuff. But after about a week, I was like, I need to get back on it because I know that this is going to benefit me. I mean, there's a ton of studies out there in terms of eating right for mental health and training for how it helps with your brain. And, you know, I was going to the gym with my brother like pretty much every day or every other day, going for walks. And honestly, that helped me so much. It just helped me like feel good. Do you know what I mean? Because when I train and when I hit the weights hard and all that kind of stuff, I'm like, this makes me feel good. We all know about the endorphins that you get from training and stuff. So that was really important for me. That was really, really important for me to stick with those routines, stick with those habits that I've cultivated for years, and help to try and just find ways to feel good and get through that process. Another thing that I did was just try. People say get through one day at a time, but that's literally all you can do. You just have to get to the end of the day and be like, okay, I made it. I've done it. Do you know what I mean? I was doing some journaling as well. So just getting to the end of each day and being like, okay, I've got to this point. Let's just go again, go to sleep and go again. I mean, obviously there were a lot of sleepless nights as well, but the journaling helped as well. Because now that I look back on it now and a lot of the stuff that I was saying, because I was saying that I was committed to trying to overcome it and get through it. But obviously I was broken at the time and I could read that in my writing. I came across one of my journals like maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago and I was reading it and I was just like, wow. Like to see where I was back then to where I am now, it was really, I had a lot of pride in how I'd kind of overcome a lot of the challenges. So yeah. And yeah, as I said, it's just been a process, and having friends and family, you always be there. You know, my brothers and sisters were there. Like, I mean, I've always had a good relationship with them anyway, but like they were there in such an incredible way for me, like always just checking in on me, seeing what I needed done. My parents, you know, just providing so much like solace and just support for me, solidarity. So, and obviously the community on social media as well. So, so yeah, it's been a journey, but I'm really grateful to be where I am now.
Yeah, you seem like you've definitely like gone through
space, for sure.
the motions, and you but knowing that you along the way you've managed to discover people who can help you, and just be honest with yourself, because you know one thing I wanted to just going off of what you've been saying, like how did you sort of like, how was the process come to terms with the loss, and then trying to like, I guess maybe like rebuild or, you know, get back into the swing of things, because like you said, that can be one of the most like, well, in my experience, one of the hardest things, because, you know, I remember when I lost my mom, I was like, my life's never gonna be the same again. And maybe, I don't know, maybe it was part hysterics at the time and part just like, you know what, I didn't even see this coming, so how am I gonna bounce back? And then it's not like, and it's good that you journaled and you track things, but I don't know, I don't really track anything. I guess I was just going through the emotions, but then how I realized I would guess improving is like, I'll be able to just talk about her just on a random one, and I don't feel away. I can do it with ease. Do you know what I mean? So okay, then that's when I kind of knew, okay, this is I'm getting there, and then from that to just gradually just saying, listen, just starting the podcast. Then that's when I knew, I can, because I feel like if I wasn't able to, you know, freely talk about her and talk about it, then I don't think, just me personally, I don't think I'll be able to like do this, do you know what I mean? So I think that I was part of that, but also like what you described, like it's sometimes it can be lonely, man, and thinking you're the only one going through it. So when you meet a community of people, you're like, okay, listen, right, I'm not the only one, and it's like, I don't know if it's right to say it feels good, but it kind of helps you mentally. You just fucking, you know, I know there's other people going through this, so you know, if I'm like struggling, I can maybe somehow lean to that person or reach out to that person, or how, you know, how you doing, or like how, you know, just intrigued because they're going through what you're going through, and you wanna. So I think it's good to, you know, like help one another and just be in that community, man. Because I don't know, even for a long while I was like, you know, this whole being part of the grief community, I feel like is that a good thing? But then now, as I realized, there's actually, you meet so many people, and it's almost like normally when people meet the people, there's a, you know, you do a lot of small talk, but you're just going skipping all that and say, look, like we've been through something as big as this. So there's no, it's kind of allows you to have that transparency.
Creates a deeper connection.
Yeah, exactly. And you don't feel like, I mean, obviously you can share things within reason, don't get me wrong, but you feel like, you know, you can trust that person in a sense, innit? I don't know if you guys ever felt like that.
Yeah, I agree. I think like when you know that someone's gone through something similar to what you've gone through, they can understand it in a way. And I think just touching on what you mentioned there about when you got to a point of, you know, doing the podcast and then you felt like you were kind of there. I don't think there's ever a destination, because I don't think grief ever kind of ends. Do you know what I'm saying?
I know what
it doesn't ever really end. Like I mean, I'm in a great place now, but sometimes I still sit in my house and think that actually happened.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That actually happened. And you sometimes maybe you know, might come across a picture, or you think about, you know, some of the things that happened on the day when it happened. And you kind of just like, you're taken aback again. Do you know what I mean? And I don't see how that, I don't think that's ever going to be minimized. That's always going to be there.
Yeah.
You know, there was one thing that I saw, there was this doctor, I can't remember what her name was. She's like some kind of grief practitioner or something, but she mentioned like how grief is almost like I don't know if you've seen it, it's like a black spot.
Yeah, I've seen
and then
that.
What happens is that, you know, it's never going to go, but what you do is you build your life around it, and you build color, and you build like almost new experiences around what's happened. So it almost kind of, it minimizes it to the point where it's not like the absolute forefront of your life like it would be in the aftermath of it happening.
Yeah.
But it never goes away, you know. And I think it's important to recognize that maybe people feel like, I don't ever want to feel like, I need to not feel like this. I want to, you know, but there's always going to be something there, which is why I do feel like, you know, with everything that you've got here, I think this has been maybe you channeling that love that you had for your parents and everything into something that can be of service and value to other people. You know, because maybe it might have been that you hadn't done this, and how would you have been able to move forward, you know? So I think this is this is an amazing platform. I remember I mentioned a while back, like, we see so many nonsense podcasts out there, people just talking absolute nonsense on social media, but these are the kind of things that are going to help people going forward. You know, I even had there was a conversation that you had with a guy who'd lost his wife as well. I can't remember what his name was.
Yes. So that was I think over a year ago.
Yeah.
It was, Jack.
Yeah.
So just briefly, damn, what episode was that? What was it? Can't remember. But it's an episode with Jack. And he was basically talking about, you know, losing his partner, and you know, just, you know, accepting it, come to terms with it, but also just come to terms with it and moving on with your life. And part of that in most cases will involve meeting someone new.
Yeah.
So, you know, his experience was talking about navigating through that, and you know, the ups and downs that comes with that. And I don't know, I feel like with things like that, like, number one, grief is like, it's just unpredictable, innit? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, you don't know, like, I don't know, you don't know who are the people you're gonna come across. You know, I think everything's for a reason. You know what I mean? Like, I can't explain why my parents passed, but I just believe, like, you know, would I be in a position if they're still alive? Well, I hope so, but I've got to look at the blessings, but also at the same time, I've got to realize, and maybe like my guilt will be different to the sort of guilt someone may have in a like relationship. But I feel like people shouldn't have any guilt. I had guilt because I thought, oh, you know, maybe small, but I thought, like, you know, I wasn't being on holiday whilst my mum's birthday, and I thought, I can't be on holiday whilst it's her birthday. Just things like that. Do you know what I mean?
That's a good segue, because I wanted to ask, I don't want to get like into details, any specifics, but just trying to understand that, you know, the surroundings, because how long were you together?
So I met her in 2017.
Okay,
March 2017. So we got engaged in March 2019.
Yeah. Nice.
And then got married in May 2021. So we were together for just nearly 5 years.
Yeah, 5 years.
So it's just about 4 years, 9 months, something like that. 4 years, 8 months.
It's nice. And then I guess, obviously, because coming off the marriage, obviously, so I guess from 2017 upwards to engagement, you're constantly building.
Yeah.
So the foundations are strong.
Yeah.
And then you get married, everything's happy, honeymoon, presumably. Everything's okay.
Well, it was during COVID, so we hadn't even done a honeymoon.
Yeah.
So we only had like 30 people at our wedding as well.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, it was nice and small, but obviously, you know, if it was normal circumstance, I'm sure there probably would have been more.
Sorry, so wait, you got married on the 24th of May?
No, we got married on the 27th of May.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I got married in April.
Oh, is it?
2021 as well.
Oh, okay.
So yeah. Sorry, quick detour.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, because I guess what I was trying to establish originally, so because you both were kind of in that space whereby kind of not the honeymoon phase, but like this lack of a buzz coming off being married, you know, kind of early jitters. Yeah. I guess it's not a silver lining, but I guess because there was so much happiness, there wasn't any chance for regret, right? Because you know, like Jim was just mentioning, oh yeah, like for example, when my dad passed, it's like wishing I'd been a better son, wishing I had been there more. And obviously, naturally, you get the regrets because there's a long duration of time.
Yeah.
So I guess because like you both were constantly on a high, like obviously it's still gonna affect you.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But it's almost like you can look back. Yes, there's grief, but there's celebration because it was nothing but love, nothing but just good times. You know what I mean?
True. Yeah.
So I always trying. I'm always kind of keen to understand the circumstances in which, like, people do come and go, unfortunately. But I guess like if you're having a happy, healthy relationship, maybe it can make for the sad passing or the passing a little bit more bearable. Instead, like if it was like a long duration, you was going through ups and downs, and you know there was that conflict.
Yeah, I think there's definitely some truth in that. I think you know, we're again being on that high from just being married, you know, thinking about building and moving forward, and you know, then trying to go on honeymoon and whatnot. So yeah, I mean, in many ways it doesn't, like, I guess it doesn't lessen the pain, but there's so much good to look back on. Yeah, like there was times where obviously because we were living together, of course, and then after she passed away, I was like, so I can't be here, so I went to stay with my mum. But there were times where I actually just went back to the flat just to kind of sit in there and just kind of take in the energy and still like. And there was, I think the first time I went there was to kind of sort some of her stuff out, and that wasn't the easiest. But then the second time I went there by myself, I was like, I actually felt a lot of gratitude, like that I'd actually been able to meet someone like her, and for her to like impact my life in such a way that I could have never imagined. And I think what that's kind of led me to is almost just wanting to, you know, of course I'm going to end up moving forward. I don't say moving on, because that almost feels like I'm kind of minimizing what's happened. Like you have to move forward with everything that had happened in my heart. And I feel like one of the things that is driving me on is just to be like, you know, despite what life has thrown at me, I still want to try and live the best possible life that I can live. And almost, you know, wherever she is, just have her see me and be like, you know what, he's doing a great job. Yeah, so I'm sure it's what she would have wanted for you as well. Exactly, it's not a discussion that people have. Yeah, but and I say that because I was watching. There's a TV show. Everybody loves Raymond, one of my favorites. There's an episode where they talk about who I would pick for you if I was to pass. Oh, okay, and it's like an uncomfortable question to ask, but I guess like I always can look at it like if anything was to happen to me. I would want my wife to be able to find someone else to be happy. Because in life, you know, that's what's all about. That's the most important thing, isn't it? It's being happy. Obviously, I don't want it to be the next day. Because obviously you would have thought you built up a strong relationship. But naturally, you just want the best for that person, because she would have seen the best in you. She would have seen what all you have to offer. So she's only gonna have nothing but love for you and want the best for you. So obviously. It's always difficult, but you do have to move forward. But you would always have a blessing in that sense. Of course. And there'll always be a part of my life and a part of my heart that's dedicated to her, because you can't erase what's happened. You know, I look back on it fondly, and as I said, even now I'm in a beautiful relationship now, and you know, thinking forward about building with my partner and going forward. But that's not to say that, you know, I don't have really fond memories of what I did have, because I did. That's a part of my life. You don't want to erase that, you know. And it's funny because when I was watching that episode with Jack, and he was mentioning that he wanted to get in a relationship really soon after she passed away, like, and he was saying that family members had a problem with that and stuff. I was just like, I understand that. Even though, you know, I obviously wanted time to process it, and I wasn't going to jump into a relationship after a week or a month or whatever. But I understand that, because I've actually like been in that period, in that experience where that companionship, you, in many ways, you want that back. Of course, you want it with the right person, of course, but when you lose someone, and in his situation it was suicide, wasn't it? So it was really bad, and he'd been with her for some time. Like, you lose that part of your life, you almost wanna have that connection with someone, because that's like, love is the most powerful emotion, and when you lose that person, it's almost like, I think he said something along the lines, if he wanted to like exhibit that love with someone else, it's not like you just forget about that person. It's like you want to continue practicing love with someone new, and I understand. I completely understand that.
No, it makes sense for sure, because we're simple. Sorry. Like, men are but as much as we like to think we're over complex and complicated, we're quite simple. What we want from women is really simple. You just want to be loved, listen to, you know, a bit of peace every now and then. Is that? But ultimately, you just want someone there. You know, someone you can come home to.
That's human nature. It's just we are wired to be in community with one another. We are wired to be in relationship with one another. That's why all this stuff about, you know, men versus women online is just so dumb, because it's just like, it doesn't serve any purpose to how we actually are evolutionarily. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I agree with everything you guys are saying, because there's not, like, I feel like there's no badge of honor for suffering. Like, even when you put in the context of grief, like, no one's gonna, like, you know, I used the occasion when I felt guilty for going on holiday, and maybe this might sound harsh saying it from saying to myself, but I'm not gonna get a badge of honor for, you know, like, you know, missing my mum's, not going on holiday because of my mum's birthday. Like, she's not here, but the main thing is that she would want me to. She would want me to.
Yeah.
I know that can seem like a blanket statement, but if you know that person, you know how they'll trust me, they'll want you to. So it's like almost like, as something I was gonna say earlier, is like, you know, I won't necessarily have a conversation about, oh, if I pass to my partner, because it's gonna happen anyway. I think personally, look, God forbid, if someone passes and it's been like 5 years, listen, be free. It's fine. So, you know what I'm trying to say? I like, you want the best. And I don't want to wish it on myself, but if someone passes, and look, you want the best. I want them to be, you know what I mean, to be just, oh, you know, like, miserable. Like, listen, look, like, again, I don't understand or can imagine like what you ever want Jack went through. But when I was speaking to him, he's like, I'm almost not surprised, because like, to go through with that, like losing your partner, you're used to seeing someone every day, speaking to them every day. You know, doing this, making plans. Okay, cool. 2 years, 3 years, we're gonna get a house. We're gonna get married. We're gonna holiday. You're making plans. That's gonna cut deep. So listen, if you wanna move on quick, listen, fair play, man.
It's very interesting that you mentioned that, because when people have like they have opposition towards like someone moving forward like that, because it's too short a period of time, they don't actually understand. Like, he's spent every waking moment pretty much with his wife.
That's what he
every day. Talking, texting, being there in the house every single day. The people who are going to get frustrated only might have seen his wife maybe once every month, you know, adult friendships, once a month, once every so often. They're not seeing her every day. They don't have that connection with her every day where your lives are literally intertwined. So it's almost a case of, you can't really have that level, you can't have an understanding of that and have an opinion on it, really, unless you've actually like experienced it. To be perfectly honest, like, to lose a partner who your life is so deeply intertwined with, if he wants to try and move forward and continue to love someone else, that is absolutely fine. That is absolutely fine. Exactly. You know what I mean? Like for what's best for him to move forward and be happy in his life. Maybe there's this belief that, you know, people think, oh, there's this time frame that you've got to work with.
I think that's what it is. That's and I feel like with that, it kind of causes a lot of I would say issues from various different like angles and that. And what I mean by that is, like, you know, if someone, you know, had lost someone that's been 4 years, let's say, for example, for argument's sake, and that person's, you know, still talking about that person that they lost, or still sometimes get sad, and someone's thinking, right, have you moved on yet?
That's the thing. That's the other side of the coin, isn't it?
But I'm saying there is no end there, and sometimes listen, we're human. We'll make opinions on everything underneath the sun, but sometimes with some things, listen, if you ain't walked in their shoes, just leave it. I mean, I don't want to say anything. Do you know what I mean? Because it's easy to say when you're cushy, when you haven't experienced what they're going through, and sometimes you might only see something on the surface. So like, you know, like, again, the example I always use, like, for someone like Rio Ferdinand, I think there was some bit of stick. Oh, he moved on quick. He's got a new missus now. have a baby now. But we don't know what's happening behind closed doors.
Yeah.
The moments, prior to his new partner coming on the scene, what it was like to look after his 3 children, or having to like soldier it for them, and still carrying that heavy grief. Like it's not. It's
that's
not
a pain
joke,
that people can't imagine.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Plus, there's no right or wrong way to heal.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to the heart, isn't it? Obviously, I guess when you have kids, there's that complicated issue, and I guess maybe you might be able to attach some sort of morality to it because you've got kids and they've just lost their mum, and it's about you, but it's more so about when can you introduce a woman back into their life. But outside of that, ultimately, they want you to be happy as well.
You
know what I mean? And a happy dad or woman or wife, if you've got kids, unfortunately, it is going to revolve around being with someone. But it just also means that now your parent would also be able to give you 100%.
Yeah. Because
you can get in a dark place and it's difficult to get out. Grief can consume you.
Yeah.
And you can't. There's no time frame.
Yeah.
You just got to do what makes you happy and get over it. And not to say that person's a scapegoat, but the heart wants what the heart wants.
That's exactly it. There's, as you mentioned there's no time frame. If it's not wrong to want to move forward after 2, 3, 4 months, it's not wrong to want to grieve for like 10, 15 years. Like I remember in the aftermath of when it happened to me, when I couldn't sleep, I was looking at all these different blogs about like widowers and how you would move forward and what that looks like, and trying to get like accounts of other people's experiences. And you had people that were saying that they move forward after 4 or 5 months and were able to find someone and then get married after like a year, 18 months. Then you had people who are still grieving after 15 years. There's no right or wrong. Either is not right or wrong. It just is. And I think people maybe when they have a opinion on something which they maybe don't have all the information and the facts, maybe it's a projection of maybe how they would deal with a situation, but that doesn't really apply when you're dealing with someone else who's going through it and you haven't experienced it. So in many ways you have to just accept that there's no right or wrong, and whatever that person decides to do, you have to be there and support them.
And then I guess also naturally, I think the younger you are, the more inclined you are to move forward. Because for example, I've got a neighbor. Her husband passed maybe 2021 as well. Not 2021, 2020 during COVID. It's 3-year anniversary yesterday because she was over for dinner. She talks about him all the time. Obviously, they've been married for the best. They were married 25 years. So it's deep. Do you know what I mean? They've put in a lot of mileage, and now he's gone. Do you know what I mean? And obviously, it's difficult because that was her life. So. And I guess when you're older, it's quite difficult then to meet someone because you're kind of set in your ways as well. So I guess whilst you're at an age where you can not embrace it, because nothing to embrace, but whilst you're young enough and there's no right, I don't know the best way to say it. But
I know what you're saying. I know.
I guess whilst you are somewhat young and you've got the opportunity to meet people and you're not as much set in your ways. I think it is good just to, even if not to settle down, just to dip your toe in the water, get around the opposite sex, just to get that feeling that you once got. If you feel that you want to take it further, take it further. You don't have to, but you could just be around the opposite sex just for that companion, and see how it goes. Because you could get to that age where you're 40, well not 40, like towards your 50s, and okay, well there's no one really around, and now you're just by yourself. You've been a widow for how many years? And you don't want to become regretful or sour or wish, just be happy.
It's funny because at the time, I remember my mum, because I in my mind had the idea like, I'm going to give it a year before I even start thinking about it, which didn't actually pan out because, again, you don't ever know what's really going to happen. You can have these arbitrary timelines. But if the right person comes into your life and you're in a good place. I mean, I was surprised that like at the start of the year, I was like, right, I want to come to a place of acceptance of what happened. And then, as the year kind of went on, I was doing a lot of good things in my life and I was able to just, be living in a purposeful way. But I didn't want to, my mum was like, look, okay, this could take a long time, but also if the right person comes along, you have to just try and be open to it. If you're in the right place, if you're in the right frame of mind, of course, be open to it. It's not something that you should rush. And, you know, I think if I'd been closed off to when, you know, my partner came into my life, it might be a different story. But again, you know, that's not to, again, people have the belief that if you move forward in this situation, that means you don't care about what's happened. But two things can be true at once.
Exactly.
And that's what people fail to understand. There's always nuance with things. You can, as you say, you can be very much, you know, happy in the present and looking forward to the future, but also be very mindful and, you know, happy with how the past went and those people that were in your life and helped to make me who I am today. So That's
nice. I think it's important, and this is the thing, because one thing I picked up on, you know, like there's no timeline when people can move on. You said people can move after 5 months, 4 months, but I think, and it's just in my opinion, I think the important thing is, you know, that they've healed, or they got to a place where they've accepted, because we can see something on the surface level and think, all right, that's a bit quick, you moved a bit quick, but in that time span, that person's healed, so they're in a position where they say, you know what, I can be able to move on, and that's why sometimes we don't. And I feel like we, as humans, we don't really see past surface level with certain things. We just take the, oh my gosh, they moved on not too long ago, that person passed. That's all you see.
Yeah. Exactly.
So it's almost like we've come so conditioned to just take certain things at the surface level. So that's why when it comes to grief, you're always going to have people say, oh, don't you think you rushed it? Or don't you think you've done this? Or maybe you shouldn't do that. But there are no rules. And again, this isn't to say people can't have opinions, but again, if you're not in that person's shoes, then, you know what I mean? And even though, like, one thing we all have common is we've all been through grief, but I'll never impose and say, oh, why are you handling your grief in this way? And same with you. We both lost like that, but doesn't mean, okay, I know what's best for you. So you have to always be mindful of people. Obviously, you can always, like, state your opinion, say things. There's always a right way to say things, you know what I mean? But when you're, like, coming from a place of criticizing, listen, we all know, listen, life, like, even just life here is so mad. Like, like I said before, we can be here today and gone tomorrow. Like, that's how crazy it is.
Here today, gone tonight. Do you know what I mean?
Well, you know what I mean? Touch wood, God forbid. Do you know what I mean? But that's how it is, and that's why, like, it's so mad. And again, even just, you know, like I said with my last guest, Rebecca, like, I'm thinking, like, what? Like, and what's even crazy, like, again, I don't want to go into the details of it, of, like, you know, the incident and stuff, but what's even crazy is someone shouldn't, when you go to a concert, you don't think that's going to be your last.
Nah.
It shouldn't. It shouldn't.
No, exactly.
It shouldn't. And what makes it sad, like, you know, because, and it's sad that sometimes, like, when it comes to grief, it makes us realize, puts things into perspective. It's sad that sometimes it has to come to that, like, and the reason why I said that, because even just, like, you know, when I found out the news, I'm like, they're stressing about so many different things. I'm thinking, like, there's 2 little boys who, around Christmas as well, they're gonna have to know that the mum's not there. And it's like, listen, I can't even be stressing too much. And it's sad that it has to take something like that to put things in perspective. But that's why, on the flip side, you know what, it makes you see life in a different way. Just appreciate your own life and just say, listen, at the end of the day, look, you need to be happy, man. You need to be happy.
It's like what you mentioned there about, like, that change in perspective. It always seems to be the case whether it's someone in the public eye who passes away, like Chadwick Boseman, for example, or Kobe Bryant. It kind of stops people in their tracks. And then for a period of time, and they're like, well, I've got to, you know, look at life in a different way and try and approach it and, you know, be more present. We could be here today, gone tomorrow. And then life continues again, and then we almost kind of forget about
and then we come back again until something else happens.
Exactly.
It's like we're just making pit stops.
That's what I'm saying. But I think one of the things is, I guess it's maybe there's not enough conversations around the inevitability that faces every single one of us. Like, we're all going to die. It's just a fact. We don't consider it. I think we never talk about it. You know, I think it's mad because I never thought that it would be my experience of grief would be losing a partner. I thought it would be one of my parents, because they're older, as you mentioned at the start. Like, we equate age with death. But you just kind of, you have to just approach things and look at it and be like you can't just, we're all going to pass away eventually. But this is what's going to happen. So maybe have more conversations around it, or have more of an acceptance and an understanding. I mean, it's still, when that time comes, it's going to be tough to deal with, but at least have had that understanding and that acceptance that the cycle of life involves death. And I think that's one of the things that you know, in that book, let me chuck that book.
Yeah. Quick promo again.
There was, I highlighted a couple of things where it talked about, where is it? There was something about, where is it? There was something about like accepting the kind of the cycle of life and death. Where is it? I can't find it. There we go. For us, so basically this book's about someone's like eyewitness and experience of being in a Nazi concentration camp.
Okay.
And like the horrible experience that they had to go through, being dehumanized, seeing people close to them killed, lying in their urine and feces and stuff, but trying to still find meaning beyond that, like trying to find meaning in their life despite what was going on, you know. And it goes, so for us, the meaning of life embraced the wider cycles of life and death, of suffering and of dying. Like, it's tough to come to that acceptance that suffering and dying is a part of life. But I think if we're able to embrace that in some kind of way, it maybe makes it somewhat easier to deal with when it comes to time. I mean, of course, I don't know how I'm going to be the next person, the next time I have to ever experience grief. But I do feel like this experience has taught me that this is actually part of life. You know, this is just life. And, you know, there's so much that I guess when these experiences that we can do individually. As I said, you've created this platform, you've obviously gone through stuff, and I'm sure, you know, inspired a ton of people to come through it from the other side. But yeah, there's so much that we can do. There was another bit that I wanted to read actually. So it goes, when the impossibility of replacing a person is realized, it allows the responsibility which a man has for his existence and its continuance to appear in all its magnitude. So that's kind of saying, like, of course, when someone passes away and they go, you can't replace them. But what it does is it almost zooms in on what you have to offer, or what life was almost still wanting and expecting from you going forward. You've gone and created this as a result of what's happened, and this has helped a ton of people, I'm sure. You know, I think one of the things that I wanted to continue with was a lot of the stuff that I do on social around helping people with their health and their well-being and things like that. And I knew that's been my purpose for a long time, and I wanted to continue with that. And that I understanding that, you know, part of, like, I can't replace this person, so maybe I could transmute the love and all that kind of stuff that I had from her into my purpose. So I think we do have, you know, as hard as it is, we do have some semblance of control as to how we can not get out of the situation, but like come to terms with it. And kind of get to a place where we can, you know, live our life and still say yes to life despite what life throws at us.
100%.
That's nice.
And just to round off, I guess I want to ask you both a question. Maybe see it as a hypothetical, but like, you know how people always say, or the saying, maybe it's not for word, but live every day like it's your last. And I feel like I obviously it's a clear concept to understand, in it. But how often do we ever like actually abide by that? And like, you know, just asking you that question, live every day like your last. What does that look like for both of you? Like in so much, maybe like in a few words, like what would that look like for you, living the last day?
I would say, like, because there's so many things that we maybe want to do in life, or we want to go out there and achieve, and we're kind of gripped by fear. And I almost just think, like, and I've actually got it written on my whiteboard at home, like, you've actually been through the worst of it. So nothing really should be, you know, cause you any fear or any angst or any kind of, oh, I don't want to do that because X, Y, Z, or this person might think this of me. I feel like, you know, I guess, as I said, thankfully having such close friends and family, and, you know, some of the things that I did, reading books, training, eating well, all that kind of stuff, I managed to get myself in a place where I could still live life purposefully. But, you know, so that means that for me, I've gone through that, so I shouldn't have any fear about anything else. I just shouldn't. And naturally, you know, there's always going to be that fear, whether it's like starting something new or, you know, learning a new skill or whatever. But yeah, I just feel like when you go through something that, just like what we've all gone through, and you realize that I'm still standing and I'm still here, it means that you can pretty much overcome anything in many ways.
100%. What about you?
I guess for me, simplistically, in the simple essence, I guess to show my loved ones the best version of me. So whatever that last memory is, it was like a happy one.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? So whether that means like I'm at home, being present in the moment at home. So with my family, them seeing me is that just being happy with them, like being content in every situation. Or if it's my last interaction with you, is that like it was a good thing? Because, but I guess mainly just more so towards my family, and more so my kids.
Yeah.
I want the kind of the last recollection just to be, he was happy.
Yeah.
Because then I think like when you, I don't know, like I'm weird in the sense that like I kind of think of death. I think, if I die, like I'll be all right, kind of be content with it. It's gonna happen. As long as it's not by like something silly, like trivial. If it was something to do like a disease or whatever, I'm okay. If it's natural age, I'm okay. I can say my goodbyes, lived a good life, I've got my kids, I'm happy. But if it wasn't right and it was to be, unexpected completely, it was just to be like the last kind of interaction. If you're gonna remember me, is that I was happy. Like I wasn't we can be in a bad mood. We could let something silly get to us, like all the trivial things, and it could be like that last interaction you had with someone could have just been like the worst version of you. So for me, it's just being able to like, my last interaction with Marlon, you know what? It was just happy. Just nothing but love. And whenever I saw him, it was nothing but love. It was just happy. And then, I don't know, I just kind of think it's easier for that person. And knowing that, like, I kind of feel like my kids would be like, oh, like he was always happy. And I just think that would be easier for them because they would think of me of having lived like a happy life. So for them, hopefully that kind of grief process should be, they could take comfort in the fact that I was happy. Like I wasn't miserable, I wasn't anything, like I was content.
That's true.
I was blessed. So I just want to I just would want to show people that.
Definitely. And I feel like not I don't want to seem like I'm hijacking you, but that's also one of my things as well, is just making sure, like, of course it can't be 24/7, but for the most part, let me just try and be positive. And because I feel like it's so easy to just get into a negative rut. Like, the past month I've been just feeling a bit negative and just be like, just not, I won't say giving up, but just letting that energy like fester amongst those around me. And that's not good. And I feel like I do want to live this life in the same vein my mum, where like she was just herself without like, backing down or being afraid to be in different spaces. So I want to just be myself and not be scared of failure. Like, listen, it's gonna happen. Like, if I still feel uncomfortable, still put yourself there. The worst that's happened. So the worst in this situation is like you don't, whether it's a job, you don't get it. Whether it's a performance, okay, you were terrible, but you live and learn. So just things like that, man, and just keep growing with this space, because I feel like, again, it's sad to say, like having things put in perspective because of death, like, like obviously I didn't know Rebecca personally, but it touched me, man. And it's kind of just maybe just give me inspiration just to keep talking about, like, I know, like, I won't say I'm someone who has all the answers about grief, but look, I'm not even trying to be an expert. I just want this to be a space, for Marlon, Ben, our other co-host, just for us to like talk to different people like yourselves and have that conversation. Of course, like I always say, it's difficult to have, so I'm always like, even before man, I spoke to you, I said, look, anything that you're not comfortable with, of course, we're not going to do that, because ultimately it is a safe space, and I want you to be comfortable. So I'm always very mindful of that. But regardless, I just want to have the conversation, man, and keep going and just speaking to different people and just see how they've sort of like gone through their journey and got to a place of acceptance, because ultimately I feel like that's where we're all trying to go to. And,
that's exactly it. I mean? Like, I think when it comes to grief, people often feel lost and they feel alone. They feel like they're the only one going through what they're going through. So, as I said, having a platform like this allows people to realize that you're not actually alone. You can hear someone else's story. You can shoot them a DM on Instagram. And, your podcast inspired me, or you can send them an email. As I said, the same way that I read option B and I was just like, wow, this is like validating every single one of the experiences and the emotions that I'm going through. I can then maybe talk about my experience, or you can talk about your experience, you can talk about your experience, and people can find similarities in that. And then that can kind of lead them to, maybe trying to find a place of solace and of comfort, and of maybe trying to navigate it maybe in a different way than how they were navigating it before. So I think these conversations are really important. You know, I realized that, like, as I said, I was apprehensive about speaking about it, but I realized that, you know, just how to get an email from someone saying that I gave them hope, it's just like, what?
Yeah,
Do you know
it
what I mean?
must be a beautiful feeling, man.
It was quite surreal, but for me, it just highlighted the importance of actually coming here, sitting about these, you know, having these conversations and just ultimately giving value and helping other people going through something similar.
Yeah. You know, it's funny, obviously, what did I want to say? Yeah, it's okay to grieve in isolation for a period. But like you said, you know, the cycle of life, it's just understanding that yes, it's okay to grieve. Take the necessary time, whatever that time looks like to you. But I guess ultimately you have to move on. Yeah. Or not move on, but you have to move forward. And that's normally that the difficult part of it is the moving forward. But understanding that, okay, yes, you have your own time to grieve is one thing. Yeah. But you have to move on. Yeah. And whatever that looks like, it's gonna vary. But you've got to take a step forward. You've got to do something to try and kickstart you into moving forward. Yeah.
Because grief's one of them places that you can get really stuck. Yeah. You can find yourself in a place where it's hard to get out of. And even if it's something as simple as just going outside and going for a 10-minute walk, it's better than being at home and just kind of staying there. And that's a small win. And one of the things that I was doing, I was just like, just tally up the small wins. So whether it was going to the gym or going for a walk or having a bit of laughter with my brothers or my sister or whatever, or my parents, and, you know, just reminiscing on something good, that's a win, you know? So there's, you know, I understand, like, it's a difficult thing. And again, what you touched on earlier, like about, you know, people often having an idea of how it should be for other people. Like, I don't know how it would be for, you know, Jess's family or her friends. I don't know what it feels like to lose a close friend. I don't know what it feels like to lose a sibling. So I can't sit here and be like, this is universal and applicable to everyone. I'm just talking about my experience of losing someone who I'd just been married to. But people might be able to pick out little bits here or there from your experience. And as I said, I've learned a ton from your podcast, but I haven't lost, you know, my parents. I don't know what that feels like. But, you know, knowing how you navigated that experience and what you've spoken about, you know, helped me on my own journey, you know. So yeah, there's, as you said, like, it's so important just to try and take that first step, whatever that looks like, however small, just tally it up as a small win and just try and build from there.
For sure. And I think, you know, like, the passing on my dad, it's been interesting because I feel like I learned something about his passing every day. Like, what I recently realized is, like, when you do lose someone, it's okay to laugh. Yeah. In the sense that you're not laughing at it, but, you know, sometimes when you're in grief or you're upset, you feel like you don't want to be happy. Yeah. Because you're going through that process. It's guilt. Yeah. It's like you can grieve, but someone can tell a joke. Yeah. You laugh. Are allowed to laugh at that joke because it's funny.
It's true.
So it's, yes, grieve, but again, it's not mutually exclusive. You can be grieving and still crack joke with the man.
Two things can be true at once.
So just, you know, just, I guess that's just like, it's not a tip, but
it's true, man.
Yeah. Don't forget to breathe and just try and laugh.
You know, you still got to try and find the good in life. Yeah, you know, 100%. You still have to try, because despite the moments that it brings that are horrible, life will also bring its fair share of beautiful, incredible moments. Like, I'm sure, you know, obviously losing your dad was a terrible moment, but you've got young kids and you look at them and you're like, this is a beautiful thing. I've got a family, I've got a beautiful family, you know, beautiful wife. That's something to be, you know, to really cherish and take hold of and be like, you know, despite the bad things that life's thrown at me, I've still been able to, you know, see what good it can bring to me, you know. So again, two things can be true at once. I think maybe people struggle to understand that. Yeah. I completely understand, I get it. But life is not a binary experience. It's not one or the other. Like, it's just going to be ebbs and flows and great things and bad things. Yeah. And that's the beauty of the life experience. Like, you know, in many ways, I wouldn't want to change it because, you know, maybe I wouldn't understand the greatness of and the beautiful things that I do have now if I hadn't experienced the really low moments, you know?
Yeah.
That's true. No, that's sometimes it's like I won't say self-learning, but one of the beauty of when you've gone through it, you processed it, you can sort of reflect on it, you realize, you know what, like, this isn't linear, man. This is gonna come with ups and downs. And just, you know, I always say, you know, the main thing is just making sure, you know, you're getting through the day bit by bit. In a year's time, you can look back at yourself and think, you know what, I've come through that, I've gone through that. Like, that's what it's about. You know, so thank you for coming on, man. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate you having me, man.
I know when we spoke, it was a while ago, but you know, but of course, again, it's all about speaking if you feel comfortable and when you're ready. That's the most important thing about
timing,
about healing, isn't it? So you know, just doing things on your terms and taking things step by step. But just rounding off, we had Jeffrey on the podcast. I'm sure you've heard sharing his experience. Just briefly before we wrap up, just plug a bit about your socials or any upcoming work or projects.
So a lot of my socials is around like plant-based nutrition, health, well-being. I mean, last year was quite crazy on social. My Instagram went over like 100K, so it's a bit mad at the moment. Got an ebook on my website if people want to look at it. So, you know, again, loads of recipes on my website, all just about kind of encouraging people to get more plants onto their plate, sharing the education around it, and just trying to ultimately take control of your health. So yeah, I think that's my purpose, and that's what I feel like I've been called to do. And I think that did help me as well, getting through the process and realizing that this is still something that I wanted to keep pushing forward, keep reaching more people. I didn't want to let that go. So yeah, very grateful to have that as like something that I can lean on. So yeah, that's what I've been doing for the last 5 years, something like that, 4 or 5 years. So yeah.
Yeah, because I did see more recently, actually, there's like, because I think I checked your Instagram and there was like gut health and the relationships it has, you know, like anxiety. And So make sure you check it out.
I'm gonna put all the links. You know, even before we came on camera, I was like, sometimes I see some of his recipes, I'm like, you know what, I'm not even reading like that, but that actually looks I might just give it a go.
For me, that's the thing. I'm not trying to like, for me, obviously I've been vegan for over half a decade now, nearly 6 years. Wow. But I'm not trying to turn people vegan. I'm just trying to show people like, this is how I'm living my life. This is the kind of food that I'm eating. These are the other health practices that I adopt. Take what you find useful. Like, I think there's a quote from Bruce Lee, isn't it? Take what you find useful, discard what is not. Something along those lines. You know, I'm not trying to tell people you need to live like me, because I don't want anyone to try and emulate me. I'm just, you know, wanting to show what is possible, eating whole plant foods, how it can benefit your health, and the recipes that you can get involved with. So
trust me, man. Like I said, I'm gonna put all the links. Check it out, because like some of them, listen, like you might just have me for a day.
That's it. That's all it is. Take a recipe, add it to the repertoire.
That's it, man. That is it. If it means, you know, you eat a few plant foods during the week, then that's my job done. Try and reach as many people as possible.
Nice. But yeah, thank you for those listening. Really appreciate it. What episode is this again? Well, I know it's the first episode of the year. So I guess Happy New Year to everyone watching, listening. Thank you for sharing. Before anything, well, I should have said it before the start. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, also on our YouTube. Again, I want to keep it consistent this year and just have more conversations on grief, mental health, you know, and just normalize certain things that, you know, would otherwise seem as, oh, you know, you can't talk about. Like, I feel like with grief as well, that's one thing, you know, I'm always mindful of trying to, you know, make this space honest conversation about grief, you know, like it's not always going to be, you know, like rosy, or it's not always pretty. So, but I think it's important to have the whole picture, man, and honest experiences, honest accounts, rather than just trying to sugarcoat stuff. So, yeah, man. So for everyone that's been supporting, please keep supporting, and tell a friend to tell a friend.